Hello, and welcome to another episode of Social Workers Rise. It is your host, Catherine here. Welcome to the Social Workers Rise podcast. I'm so excited. Today is episode 194. How in the world are we on episode 194? We're almost at 200. We'll get there in due time in 2025, and I'm super excited. For today, I want to just recap some of the happenings that have been going on in the world of social work by going over briefly the top 10 social work trends of 2024. With full transparency, this is according to ChatGPT, because I was just wondering what the heck has happened? What does the internet say about social work in 2024? And this is so that you can get a little sneak peek into what is happening as far as how are you going to be able to utilize the trends to increase your income. If you're looking for side hustle ideas, these might be some areas to explore. If you are looking for ways to make yourself more marketable and ways to increase your niche or find your specialization so that in 2025, you can be fully ready and equipped, ready to go to meet the needs of the market, then this is for you. Before we hop into that, I just need to tell you, 2024 has been rough. It's been rough, y'all. It has been so stressful personally. Thank God my job is amazing. I do telehealth, if you're not familiar. So I do teletherapy with people, and my clients are amazing. They are like sometimes the best part of my day. And so I've been really blessed and fortunate to be able to do this for a living and be able to really just live the life that I never thought was possible. And I know I'm looking forward to 2025 being a year of peace, a year of changes, and a year of growth. So I am also looking at these trends and figuring out what are ways that I can support you going forward, because it's important to know where's the industry going, because we have to be ahead of the curve. We can't be just responding to it and trying to play catch up. It's going to be a lot harder that way. So I know for me, I have already signed up for some additional trainings because I want to really hone in on my niche of anxiety, specifically women with anxiety. And that's going to also help you too, because as social workers, I know you get anxiety, and do not try to tell me that you don't. So let's hop into this. The top 10 social work trends of 2024. I was kind of surprised to hear about them, and at the same time, like, not, because they do make sense to me. So briefly, number one came out with the integration of technology. So social workers like myself are increasingly using tools like AI, data analysis, and virtual reality for personalized interventions for clients, for training, resource management. Also, they're using telehealth and online therapy a lot, and this remains critical for improving access to care, especially in the underserved communities. And I love it because as a telehealth therapist myself, I see that teletherapy is really helpful for, well, my clients, a lot of them are stay-at-home moms or moms that have new babies and they can't make it into the therapy session. So they're able to just join from home with their baby in hand, they're breastfeeding, they're in their pajamas, like it's fine. Also to people who have chronic pain and chronic health conditions that getting out of the house is a hardship. People who don't have access to transportation, it's amazing. So if you are not on board with the integration of technology, if you are not familiar with using AI, I suggest that you start getting familiar and being open to how can you integrate AI more into your work. For example, working with clients, I will use AI to come up with therapy ideas to, as a consultant, like, for example, quickly, what are the signs of depression, right? So if I'm writing a note and I say, oh, they need to meet the qualifications for depression, I will type in symptoms of depression and it'll give me right there what the DSM says. So I don't have to go looking on the internet for it. And so I make sure that my notes are on par and I don't miss anything. But so many ways to integrate technology into your work. Number 2, there has been an emphasis on trauma-informed practices. Yes, I have definitely seen this. So the focus on trauma-informed care has expanded even beyond mental health settings to schools, workplaces, and community programs, which reflects the growing need for holistic approaches in addressing adverse experiences. So, this is an amazing opportunity to find your specialization. If you want to specialize in trauma, this means that there is a really big need and there is an increase in awareness in the importance of having trauma-informed experts, right? Number 3, demand for geriatric social work. So, with aging populations like the boomers, there is a heightened demand for social workers specializing in elder care, addressing needs like dementia, social isolation, and elder abuse. Number 4, there's been an increased focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, as it would be known. Social work has really deepened its commitment to cultural competence and addressing the systematic inequities impacting marginalized communities. So again, here is another specialization that may be good to look into if you are looking to grow your skills and your niche in 2025. Number 5, the rise of macro social work. Yes, we love the macro social work. The episodes that I've done in the past on macro social work have been very popular, one of the most listened to episodes. So if you haven't yet, go back, scroll, find the episodes on macro social work. And a little bit about this. There's been an increased emphasis on policy advocacy, environmental justice, and systems levels interventions in really expanding the role of macro social work and tackling the root causes of social issues. So, another area to look into. Number 6, workforce well-being and resilience. So essentially what this means is that addressing burnout and promoting self-care among social workers is really gaining traction. It's getting speed with organizations really looking to explore ways that they can create a healthier work environment. And if you've listened to like any of my episodes, you will know I am a huge, huge proponent and advocacy of burnout prevention and recovery because I've been there. I'm a burnout survivor 2 times. Not proud of it, but it is what it is because I just didn't have the skills. I had no idea. And it really took a shift in my thinking, in my mindset, in order to implement a lifestyle that did not have me burning out on a regular basis. And it really is a lifestyle change and a shift in your way of thinking in order to set those boundaries, make sure that you are well. And if you're not well, taking time to do what you need to do. For example, I mentioned I've been really stressed out and I have had many days, probably not enough days, but I have taken days where I'm just like, I'm going to lay in bed and just not do anything. And as someone with anxiety, a mom, a wife, a friend, someone who likes to be active, this is radical for me because I don't just lay in bed and sleep, but just mentally, I was just exhausted. Is just some of those days where I'm like, I just can't right now. And I don't want to do anything. I just want to lay here and not be bothered. I would turn off my phone because emails would overwhelm me. The text messages would just overwhelm me. And I needed some space to just be alone, to process, to think, to heal, to recover. And I'm not saying to do this forever, but if there are moments that you need to pause, that you need to rest, that you need to be unavailable for a moment, that is okay. Cry your eyeballs out, No one will know unless you want them to know. That's okay too. But it's okay to hit pause for a moment and do that. And I've found that I had to do that a lot this year, and just getting more and more comfortable with this idea of what do I need to do to be well and to be my best self. So I am happy to see this on the list at number 6. Number 7 is hybrid and flexible work models. So after the pandemic, there have been a lot of shifts that have encouraged flexible work arrangements, including hybrid roles and remote options to support work-life balance for social workers. And I am all about this because I work from home. However, if you are a new social worker, I would highly encourage you to make sure you have time working in the field, especially if it's hybrid or like, full time's great. But if you have to do hybrid, cool. But just have time in the field, because being in the field with the clients that you're serving helps you to see what they're doing and what is going on from a whole different perspective. For example, if you're working with people who are unhoused, it is very beneficial of you to go out and see what is going on. What is the environment that they're living at? Who is around? Who are their friends? Where do they call home? What do they do? What is their daily life like? This will expand your knowledge more than any sort of phone call or telehealth session ever will. Same thing when I was working in hospice. I would get on the phone with people and they would tell me one thing, right? And be like, oh, yeah, I'm doing fine. Like, okay, well, you're on hospice. I don't know how fine you're doing. And once I go out there to the home, yeah, turns out they're not fine. They were just telling me that because they didn't want me to know how not fine they really were. Or there's other people on the other end of the spectrum where they're like, I'm doing so terrible. It's horrible. I'm like, it's terrible. And I go out there and they're fine. They were just exaggerating because they wanted to see what all I could do for them, what all services I have available, which, like, no shade, but you really have to be able to go out there in the community to see what, like, so valuable to you. Because if your end goal is to do honestly anything, right? If your end goal is to be a therapist, then you need to know what's going on in people's lives and situations and the questions to ask. Even if you're going into macro work, right? You're going to need to know what's happening there in the streets in order to make the policies, in order to figure out what's working best, in order to know what your staff is experiencing. So if you are bummed because you don't have a hybrid or remote role as a new social worker, don't be bummed. This is the best thing that's ever going to happen to you. Okay. Number 8, advocacy for social work licensing reform. Yes, there has been so much action with licensing reform, and specifically with the compact and the licensing tests. So when I say there is drama about this. There's people on all ends of the spectrum. There's people like, yes, we need licensing reform. We need the social work compact so that we can travel across states and our license is recognized across states. Other people are like, no, this is not happening. This is not a good idea. And it's drama. There's a lot going on. So the field is definitely seeing some debates and advocacy efforts around licensing requirements, talking about exams, and how to make social work more accessible and equitable while also upholding our professional standards when it comes to recruiting and filling in these job gaps that we have, right? Because we're understaffed in social work. And how do we fix that while upholding the integrity of the profession? It's a whole thing. So if you scroll back a couple episodes, maybe one or two, I forget which one, but I just did an episode on the social work compact. And then coming up in 2025, I'm going to have a social worker come on here who is against this social work licensing compact. So that will be interesting to hear her perspective around why she thinks it's a bad idea. So that'll be interesting. Make sure you're subscribed so you get notified of these conversations because I'm going to do my best to keep you in the loop in 2025. All right. Number 9, community-based mental health initiatives. So social workers are playing a larger role in designing and implementing programs to address community-wide mental health challenges, including those created by climate change and economic instability. So I love this. Another way that you're able to use your social work skills on a macro level. Okay. So that is, and number 10 is sustainability and environmental justice. So social workers are increasingly involved in addressing climate change impacts through advocacy and direct interventions in communities most affected by environmental challenges. So I'll be totally transparent. I am not very familiar with environmental justice, and I know that there are social workers who do work in this field. So it's an area that I'm interested in learning more about. And if you happen to know about this or know a social worker or an organization that could come onto the podcast, that would be amazing. I would love to learn more about how social workers are getting involved in environmental justice. So with all of this said, how does this apply to you? Like, why the heck do you care about what is happening in the trends? Because this is a way to be able to upskill your career, right? So if you're able to know what the trends are, what people are looking for, you're able to fill that need to make yourself more marketable, right? So what I would recommend based off of these 10 trends, just some recommendations, right? If you're looking to level up your career next year, which I think that you are because you are listening to this podcast, 1, get some trauma-informed care training because this is in high demand. If you can add this to your resume, or if you've already had it and you've had maybe a college course on this, add that to your resume. It is going to look so good. And it's going to set you apart from other social workers who are also in the field, also applying to these positions because let's be real, most of the jobs that we work at as social workers involve clients who have experienced trauma. So going in with a trauma-informed care training or course is never, ever going to hurt you, right? And it's applicable across industries. So no matter where you are, healthcare, education, therapy, forensic, wherever you are, it will help, right? Another certification that you may want to consider is the geriatric social work certification. So this can be helpful. Again, if you're working with older adults, aging population, if you want to work individually in hospitals, nursing homes, or even go on the macro level and work in community programs, in service organization, then the geriatric social work certification may be helpful for you. I don't have any specific recommendations or like agencies to go to. If I were you, I would just Google these things and see what comes up and or highlight the training that I already have or courses that I have already taken that fit these areas if it's an area that I am looking to work in and expand into, right? So another area that you may want to consider is looking into macro social work opportunities. Seeing how can you develop some skills in advocacy, policy analysis, program development, grant writing. One thing that might be helpful is if you can find a mentor in this area or even a podcast in this area. I know there is a professor from UCLA, I believe, and he calls himself the macro social worker. So you can look up that podcast and check it out. He talks all about macro social work. I believe he was like a government official too, like an elected government official. So he is a wealth of knowledge, super nice guy. Definitely look him up. Let him know I sent you, right? The other area that you can try to look into in pursuing leadership roles is if you're licensed, you can look into being a clinical supervisor, right? So this means that you would provide supervision to social workers outside of your agency. So you can contract with other agencies and offer that as a service. And this can add one, professional fulfillment, and two, an additional income stream for you. And it's a way to give back to the next generation. I personally am a clinical supervisor and I love it. I love it. It keeps me sharp, keeps me on my skills. And if you need a place to go for more resources or to market your services, check out the Rise directory. It's a place that you can go and list your services as a clinical supervisor. And if you need one, if you're still in the licensing process, you can go to risedirectory.com and search for your state and see who comes up, who is available to offer you clinical supervision. Okay. The third tip, like based on these trends, this is another tip, is to look into non-traditional social work roles. So your skills as a social worker, especially with the emotional intelligence and the soft skills, they are highly in demand in other settings such as corporate social work and environmental justice and advocacy. So definitely look into those. I've done podcast episodes on corporate social work and macro social work. So scroll back, check those out. Really, really great episodes. Let's see. The last one would be to network and invest in your professional development. So with any of these new areas, it is so helpful to find somebody who has already been there, done that, preferably recently, right? So if you're looking for a mentor or people to network with, you want to be able to find people who are doing what you want to do. And maybe even people who have just gotten started, right? Maybe they've been doing this for a year, 2 years, people who are kind of newer to the field that can guide you and help direct you. They may not feel like they have all the answers, but they're the people who are going to be current and who know what's going on, how to get started, who might you want to talk to, what professional development events to look into. If you are looking to just level up your skills in general, like you are foundation social work, maybe you're in your MSW program or BSW program, and you need to just level up your skills around the foundations like assessments, documentation, using CBT with clients, safety planning with clients, termination, then definitely look into the course, The Clinical Essentials for the Future Therapist. I made this course specifically for you, my friend, because it is overwhelming going into a new job and feeling like you haven't adequately been trained for these skills that they do expect you to know how to do. They expect you to know how to document. They expect you to know how to do a psychosocial assessment and what a mini mental status exam is and how to use these different tools, especially if you're coming in as an MSW. So if you have not been adequately trained, it is no fault of your own. It happens, right? Because the universities have so much to teach us. And a lot of times the internships may not have the capacity to teach these skills on a level that you need. That is why I created this training to fill that gap. So just to recap, the trends that we're seeing for 2024, integration of technology, emphasis on trauma-informed practices, demand for geriatric social workers, a focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, rise of macro social work, workforce well-being and resilience, hybrid and flexible work models. With that said, with the hybrid model, you may also look into how to get certified as a telemental health therapist or take a telemental health course that could also improve your chances of landing a remote job. Number 8, advocacy for social work licensing reform, community-based mental health initiatives, sustainability and environmental justice at number 10. So I hope this was helpful for you. If it was, please feel free to share it either on social media or text a friend to let them know, hey, these are the areas that are trending, and this is how we can stay on top of it, level up our skills, and be prepared for 2025 growth and sustainability. and more income if that is your goal. I am not mad at you. We got bills to pay, we got loans to pay off. It is very important. So, with that, I'll see you next week.